recording. And again, to all, welcome. This is our third monthly webinar here at the AVA. Henry, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tim, and thanks for hosting and having us on again. So tonight we were going to share with everyone the work that's coming up with our consulting firm, Mass Media. So joining us today is Brooke Snelling, who's the partner and director of client services, and Zachary Crazen, the digital marketing director. Also want to welcome the publicity committee members who are joining us. I saw Patricia, I think Catherine was joining us, Samantha, Barbara, and Susan, I think. Did I miss anyone? But anyway, that's the committee members that are also joining us. I'm going to turn this over to Brooke, but really we're going to talk a little bit about some of the best practices, how clubs can market their events locally, and then also specifically the Facebook linking to the pages, what we're proposing to do there to help better market the organization as a whole. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brooke. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. As Henry mentioned, I am the Director of Client Services and a partner at Mass Media. We've been talking to Henry, and we thought it would be a great value to share with you guys some of the best practices for utilizing the Facebook platform, specifically for setting up an event and how to promote it, along with some other considerations surrounding events. And then we also did want to touch a little bit more on, Henry mentioned the linking of pages. That's really something that would position AVA nationally and tie your brand in together so that it's all tied in across the country. So Zach is our digital marketing director, and he is very experienced with the Facebook platform. So he's going to do the majority of the talking. I will be here and I'll chime in. But with that, I think, Zach, if you want to introduce yourself and share your screen, we can jump right into the presentation.
Sure. Hey, guys. So I'm Zachary Crazen. I'm the digital marketing director at Mass Media. Yeah, I've been working on the account since you guys have been with us, and I'm very familiar with the goals, and I think we've set something up really nicely to share with you guys. I want to keep this kind of free-flowing, so if people have questions, of course, I want to be able to answer them or clarify. So please feel free at some point. I don't know if, I know that we've muted everyone, so I don't want to encourage everyone to talk over themselves, but if we can find a way to make sure everyone gets their questions answered, I'm certainly here to help. So let me share my screen.
Yeah, and while he's getting that set up, we did allow for time to walk through the presentation, and at the end we can field questions that might come up. So if, along the way, if you have a question, if you want to take note, that way we can get through everything, and then at the end we can answer any questions you guys have.
Give me 2 seconds. So I just want to make sure, can you guys see my screen? Do you guys see the?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
You see the using Facebook for events? That's
Yes,
the slide.
we can.
Right. Perfect. All right, awesome. So I will dive right in then. So before I touch on some of the events and the other pieces that Brooke was mentioning, I thought it would be valuable to just give a little background on the power of Facebook. So as a lot of you, I'm sure, are very well aware, the impact of social today is pretty astounding. And just the way that humans interact on multiple levels. So you have ways that we interact with friends online, family, coworkers, organizations, and more specifically businesses, and how those interactions occur are very different, of course. There are a lot of social platforms out there, but there's none like Facebook that really has probably the most elevated reach globally and the highest amount of engagement. There's almost about 2 billion people that sign into the platform every single day. And in terms of audience demos, I just wanted to pull a little bit so you guys are aware. 72% of people online, 50 to 64, are using Facebook, and 62% of seniors online are using Facebook. 65 plus are using Facebook as well. So in short, I know your audience is using this platform and they're looking to be engaged with. And the idea is to be able to utilize the tool and all the different platforms within the tool to make sure that we're speaking to them and making sure that we're offering the right information to get people excited. So what are Facebook events? So I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar because we did do some tests with Facebook events and promoting them. But for those who are less aware, this is not a new feature, but these are designed really to generate leads, build customer loyalty, and stay engaged pretty heavily with your audience. These events kind of exist within their own section of a Facebook business page. And you'll have the ability, or users or prospects have the ability to really go through all events that you've ever listed, view details, and can RSVP. It's really essentially one centralized location to support all of the different events that you guys will do on a yearly basis. And why use Facebook events? So Facebook has intentionally built out a number of different ways that you can engage with your customers. So there are a lot of different products under the Facebook umbrella that are designed with customer acquisition and engagement in mind. So I just want to give a couple of examples of why Facebook events are valuable. So if you list your event and somebody RSVPs that they are interested, anytime they go to Facebook, they'll receive a Facebook notification if you or any person decides that they want to post on the event page. So it's a constant reminder of your event. It constantly drives people back to the event page and also offers the ability for individuals to be able to engage both with you, with the brand, with other people who might have done events. You can share photos, and it's a way to kind of drum up excitement and to build credibility for each of your events. And then one other piece that I think is really valuable is Facebook rewards you for using a lot of these different platforms within the Facebook umbrella. So what Facebook does is it tries to connect people who are looking at other events with either similar events or events in that particular area. So if you have your events listed out and you've tagged them correctly, which I'm gonna go into, where you can essentially let Facebook know this is the type of event that we're focused on. When other people are looking at events, Facebook will actually say, hey, this is something similar, you might wanna be interested in looking at it, or hey, you're in this area, here are other events very close to by that you might be interested in. So it really expands the reach of the event itself. So those are a couple of reasons as to why. So I want to go into some best practices. I am going to follow this conversation by saying I'm going to go through and step by step show you guys how to build an event. So as I'm going through this, I want you guys to know that we've taken care of building out screenshots and really showing you from start to finish how you would create an event. And these are all just best practices to consider when you're creating it and when you're engaging with it. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. So the first item is ensuring that all the text areas within the Facebook event are completed, and make sure that you have a really thorough description. So your description is essentially what gives people the most important details about your event. So working with you guys, I know that you guys like to push a very specific schedule. So maybe Friday we meet here at this time, Saturday, this is where we're gonna meet, this is how long each hike is. Like there is a very specific schedule in mind. This could be very valuable to be able to promote that schedule within the description. I know there's a registration process. These are all things that you guys are going to wanna put in here to give as much information about the event as possible. But I do want to make note that these event descriptions should be fun and engaging. I know that you guys stand for fun, and you should really keep that in the back of your mind when you're writing these. You know, when we were working on ads for these events, we were using emojis, we were trying to use fun language, and it would just behoove everyone to kind of think through, how do we make people really read and recognize what we're trying to do here when we want people to come to events and participate with us. So it's just something to keep in mind, that we definitely want to make them seem really appealing and fun. The second one, eye-catching event photos. So social media is inherently visual, and it should always be kept in mind. Your photos should encourage people to want to kind of click through and see the rest of the details and excite people, similar to the description. I personally always try to focus on brand standards. So that's, you know, proper imagery, logo, you know, brand colors. But I know you guys also have a great deal of imagery, because a lot of these events you've done before, or maybe hikes have been done before, or specific photos were taken of you guys all together. And those could be really great opportunities to use as well. So just keeping those in mind. There are a number of ways the photo will render, whether you're on your mobile device or desktop. So I would just encourage everyone, when they post the event, they should just check it out in in different ways, different devices. For me and my team, I always encourage, when I push something live, I always check it on my desktop. I always check it on my phone. I'll call someone and ask them to check it. I've called Brooke a number of times to say, hey, can you check this out for me? I have every bit of faith in Facebook to push everything correctly, but it's always nice just to make sure when it comes to technology that you give it a second set of eyes. So I would just encourage everyone, especially when it comes to visuals, to just take a look at it when you push the event live. The third is making sure you guys are using tags. So I kind of alluded to this before, where I said Facebook tries to match similar events. So if someone's looking at an event and they recognize that your event is similar, it will say, have you checked this event out? They do that through tagging. And so what this is it gives you the ability to put in keywords that are similar to your event. And I wouldn't just use branded keywords. So I wouldn't just say, you know, America's Walking Club. I would find keywords that are non-branded and really relevant. So walking, hiking, 5K, travel. There are a bunch of non-branded keywords that I think are highly valuable for you guys. What I also like to do sometimes is I will look at other competitors, or I might look at other events that I know are similar and just get a sense for, well, what is this person writing, or what kind of tags is this person using, to just be able to do a little bit of an analysis and see what's valuable for me to take over, or what's valuable that I also might want to incorporate into my strategy. So I would just encourage everyone to keep it in mind and be able to add a couple of keywords that really help to highlight what is the event about, what are they doing, and give Facebook the ability to understand so it can connect events with other similar events. Manage posting permissions to the event. So I'm gonna share this in a screenshot. I just wanna call that out. But you have the ability to limit or expand the permissions of people to write on the event wall. So when you create an event, people can type, you know, questions, they can send photos, you can submit comments for engagement, and I'm gonna show you it in a visual. But you have the ability to limit other people posting, and I would not do that. I always would encourage people to be able to participate and to write on the public event wall. Typically, the more active an event looks, the more excited people are. It's very difficult to spark excitement when people can't post on the page, share their thoughts, even share their past experiences. So I would definitely encourage everyone to be able to post on the wall. I would also encourage, if you guys have people in the area that you've invited and you know them well, I would encourage you to reach out to them and say, hey, could you write something exciting? Really try to drum up some engagement and let people know that you're excited, because that's a little bit of the drop in the bucket, right? You get one person to comment and then you start to see other additional comments trickle in. I find this very valuable and it's worth considering. Next, promote your Facebook event with ads. So while Facebook does have a very large reach, organically, and when I say organically, I mean when you're not paying at all, it does only serve to a small percentage of your audience. And I want to explain what that means a little bit. So if you have 100 people that follow your page, Facebook is going to send your event to 5 people's walls on their newsfeed. And if people engage with it, Facebook says, okay, this is something that people want to engage with, we're going to push this out. But if people are not engaging with it, Facebook says, okay, we're not going to serve it to as many people. It's Facebook's algorithm, and it's how Facebook dictates when you see content and how often you see content. So the bottom line is you want to make sure that your content is very engaging. If you have people that you know that are part of the brand, or also maybe friends of, or are in the area with, it would be nice for you to reach out and say, hey, we just posted this event. If you can go like it, share it, comment on it. But that takes you so far. So you can also do paid. And what that is essentially you can pay to expand your reach further. And it's a very simple process. You can go through and you can set your own parameters. You can say, hey, I want to serve it to people who like walking, like jogging, like hiking, like 5Ks. I only want to spend this much money. I want to spend it within this time frame. And Facebook will even tell you, okay, well, with these different targeting segments, we will be able to reach 500 more people. So you'll be able to actually expand beyond just organically or just where it would serve without any dollars. So you have that ability as well. Scheduling events in advance. So the earlier you can get events up on the Facebook events page, the better. You don't have to wait until right before an event is listed. I always would encourage you to recognize the schedule and say, okay, let's start to build them all out. As people go to the events page, they'll be able to see all of the different events. They'll come back, they'll be able to plan, especially in this climate. It's nice to be able to see well in advance when events are happening. So certainly a consideration. And then sharing the event with your friends and family. So I kind of touched on this before, which is just Facebook really does rely very heavily on engagement. So you want to be able to share when you can. You want to encourage friends and family to share it or like it or comment on it, because it really does help the algorithm say, hey, this is something that's worth pushing out to more people. I know that's a lot, so I tried to go very slowly. I'm sure we'll have some questions about it, and I'm happy to answer them, but those are some of the best practices for event promotion. So the next piece. So I want to do a step-by-step walkthrough of creating an actual Facebook event. It's very simple, as you guys are going to see. If you guys have questions, obviously I can answer them, but it will be start to finish how you create one. One thing I want to note is that there are a bunch of different types of pages Facebook has created. This requires a business page. And I say that because there are business pages, there are group pages, there are all different types of pages, and they all have different use cases. A business page is valuable to you guys because as a business, you want to be able to list products, services, list your events, spark engagement with videos, photos, this is going to be best done through a business page. So this is the page that needs to be used, and also the page that makes the most sense for you guys. And you must be a page admin. And I'm going to show you how you can tell very quickly if you're a page admin. So I just wanted to call that out really quickly. Okay, so step one, you're going to go to your club page. So in this case, in this example, I'm using AVAs. So I went to the main page. So what you see, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but what you see right here, it says go to Business Manager to manage this page. I see that because I'm a page admin. So anytime I go to a page and I see something here about managing the page, it's because I have access to manage it. If I go to a page and it just looks like any other business page without that, it's just, you know, I go to Burger King, McDonald's, I go to Starbucks, whatever it is, I won't have this because I don't have access to manage those pages. That's a very easy, quick way to recognize if you have admin access. I do. So you can see it obviously says it right here. Once you are on the main page, and just to clarify, I'm showing you the example on America's Walking Club. You will go to your unique club. So this is just the example. You won't go to America's Walking Club. You'll go to your club. And right here on the left-hand rail, you'll see a button labeled Events. So you'll select that. Sorry. Come on. Oops, sorry. And it takes you to this page. Now, you can see past events are here. If there were any current events, you would see them listed right here. Here's an ability to share events if you guys want to share them. And here you can create an event. Now, again, I can create an event because I'm an admin. This wouldn't exist if I was an admin.
Zach, I'm sorry for interrupting, sir, but folks are saying that, could you go to full screen, please? Could you do the presentation?
Sure.
They're having a hard time reading this, please.
Which, is it backwards, Brooke, or can they see?
Go up to slideshow at the top and go to your presentation from the current slide.
It's on full screen, Zach.
Did it work?
What we're trying to get away is from the PowerPoint background.
No,
Just go
totally understand. I just can't see what you guys see, so I just need someone to tell me what they're
Did not
seeing.
work.
Okay.
Five.
Sorry, hold on one second, guys. I apologize.
You're in
Let's,
edit mode. I tried to tell you that.
I'm sorry?
Go to slideshow on your PowerPoint at the very, very top menu. Click
Yep.
on
Got it.
slideshow. Now go from current slide, which was number 2.
There you go. Click that.
I have clicked that, but I want to make sure it's working.
You're still in edit mode.
So I have 3 screens, so I don't see edit mode. So I'm just trying to figure out what's happening. So give me 2
Just
seconds.
drag the full screen, Zach, to the screen that you're sharing, or stop sharing and reshare the correct screen.
Got it. Thanks, Brooke. Hold on. Okay, sorry guys. Let's try.
It might be easier, Zach, to just stop share and then select the one that's full.
That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go into. Oh my goodness. It's a little complicated for me, huh? Okay. So now I'm going to share. So do you see the,
Perfect.
Yes.
okay, perfect. All right, so let's start from the beginning just to make sure that everyone follows. So Step 1, we're going to go to your club page. Step 2, we're going to select the event, which is in the left-hand rail drop-down menu. It's going to take you to this page right here, and you're going to select create an event. So this is where we kind of left off. So there are 2 different types of events to be created. One is online and one is in person. And it's kind of funny because I don't think the online existed before. So I think it's Facebook's way of very quickly trying to keep up with the times. And it's, you know, it's pretty brilliant. You got to give Facebook some credit, right? They want to jump on these types of things. So I know that most of your events are going to be centered in person. So I've showed you the process for an in-person event. Now, it's very similar if you were to do an online event, but I just wanted to give you a little reference to that. All right, so then you are brought to this page. So on the left-hand side that I've circled in red are going to be all of the different areas that you're going to start plugging information. And on the right side, what's actually very cool is as you type it in, you'll actually see the preview build the event. So as you start writing the event name, you'll see the event name start being listed in the event itself. And the only other thing I want to call out, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but in the top right corner of the event preview, you can see there's a little computer and a little phone. The computer shows you how this renders on a desktop, and the phone shows you how this renders on a mobile device. So just clicking it will toggle between the different devices. It's always worth just seeing how is this going to look if someone's looking at it on a desktop versus a phone. So you'll enter your event name, you'll enter your start date, start time, end date, end time. If this is a recurring meeting, you have the ability to set it as such. You do have the ability to change the privacy settings. In this case, it's a public event. And then here is your description. This is the piece that you want to be very aware of. This is the piece that should be engaging, but also very informative. You'll also be able to select category. This is where your tags exist. So you'll select and you'll be able to add all of the different tags that you would like. Come on. Once you're done with that, it will encourage you to upload a cover image. So you can see I just started to fill out some information. This isn't necessarily real information, obviously. You'll upload your cover image. Here, right below that, it says admission. So if you have an area where you would have a, I don't know, you have a link like maybe it's a Ticketmaster, or maybe you have a special place that you're actually doing real tickets at a URL, you'll be able to plug that in. And then under event settings, this is the part where you can check your event settings, and this is where you would be able to determine permissions for people. I like to give people permission to write on the wall. I like to keep it very open because I think it's a value. If you have a reason for not doing it that way, by all means. There is one box in here. This can go either way, but it pretty much says, let people ask you questions about this event on Messenger. Messenger is pretty much Facebook's messaging tool. If you are monitoring your Messenger, then I think it's valuable to turn this on. But if you are not, then I don't think it's valuable to turn it on. You know, it's nice to be able to give people the ability to ask you a private question, but if you are not going to be monitoring, then it's going to be a negative experience for someone to ask and not receive an answer. So all events that is not checked, you cannot technically send a private message. If you want them to be able to, you just check the box. But it's up to the club owners to really dictate, am I going to be checking? If I am, then it's worth doing. If I am not, then I would consider not checking that box. Once this event is done, there's, it's cut off, but it says go live right down here at the bottom. You'll click on that, and then it gives you the ability to promote it. It's a very similar process. You just plug in your budget, your run dates, and you can promote it. You do not have to. You could simply just push the event live. It would go live organically, and that's when you would encourage your friends, family, followers, people in the area to see it, share it right on the wall, and really try to build up the credibility of it. So Facebook's algorithm can say, okay, we see that people are engaging with this, so therefore we're gonna wanna push it out to more people. It's kind of a theme with Facebook. It's either you try to drum up engagement or you pay. It's kind of a little bit of it's a theme with Facebook and all social platforms. You certainly don't have to pay, but I would then really make sure that you're engaging with that content. I now have essentially best practices for just Facebook that I wanted to go through. So number one, learn about your audience. So do you guys know who your audience is? Do you know how old they are, where they're living, even how much they earn, what they buy? I just think it's always really valuable to try to glean an insight and understand who is this audience, because that always is going to help with the type of content you're producing, and what kind of content and what kind of visuals you're producing. Also, do you guys note when you push out content on your pages, what's performing well and what is not performing well? So you might see a post and it has 20 likes, and you might see another post and it has 2 likes. Do you guys recognize that and say, okay, well, this is something that people really resonated with because there's a lot more likes on this kind of content? These are all ways that you can continue to learn and adjust your content strategy. It's important to be posting relevant content, but it's also important to really say, is this kind of messaging something that people want to see, want to engage with? Is this valuable for the people that are following you? So it's just worth being able to really look at what you're pushing out and saying, this is good, we should push some more of this out. Or maybe this is not as good. Let's not spend time making this type of content. It's also valuable to really take into account the creative. Facebook, like I said, is inherently visual, but it also doesn't require all of these really advanced graphics or videos. You know, like if you're gonna produce a TV spot, it should be a very well produced spot. But for Facebook, I bet you guys have a ton of videos on your phones from all of the great events you guys have been doing, and that stuff should be shared. So when you guys are at events and taking photos and you are taking videos, those are all valuable pieces of content that you can be uploading to your business pages, and definitely something to make note of. Have a plan and set goals. So I always like to, of course, build out a whole social strategy with content. You guys might not be able to build a whole content calendar and build that out. So maybe what's valuable is really just saying, hey, what are the things that we want to make sure we're focusing on this month? And how can we push it out in a fun way? What creative do we have? Do we have any videos from last year that we want to push out? Do we have any albums that we want to create to really showcase some of the hikes that we're doing? It's worth just trying to sit down and come up with a plan, even a semblance of one, to say, okay, these are the different types of content that we have to push out to really get people excited. And let's just spend a few hours sitting down and figuring out, well, how are we going to do that? Consider a hashtag strategy. So hashtags are a way to really build engagement and find relevant prospects. So a hashtag is essentially like a number symbol and a keyword. So a lot of times people, when they're pushing out content, they will write different hashtags, which is literally just, for example, you might do one that's hashtag walking club, hashtag 5K, hashtag jogging. There might be a bunch of ones very similar to the event keywords that you would find very relevant. Those are always going to be helpful because it connects users who are looking for information for your stuff. So I would consider finding, you know, just one or two that could be really relevant in each post. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to spend all this time researching it. I think if you just came up with a couple of relevant ideas, it could really help expand your reach. So it's definitely something worth considering. Next, focus on engagement. So I've kind of already discussed the algorithm, and that Facebook's theme is you either need to be engaging or you need to pay, and that's how you're going to get a reach. So make sure that you can really focus on content that's engaging, or connect with people and say, help us out, like this comment, share it, respond to it. It will be very helpful in the long run. You will see significantly more people coming to your pages, liking your pages, liking the content. Test all products within the platform, especially new post formats. So Facebook does this all the time. They make all of these new products that are valuable to increase your visibility and your engagement. So, you know, there's always new opportunities. There's Facebook Live, which I think would be very powerful for you guys, which is literally you can go live to your subscribers, and you could literally go live and take users on a journey of hikes that you guys are doing, or events that you guys are holding. There are just a number of different ways. There's Facebook events, like we talked about, to take advantage of. There's Facebook stories. There's all of these different products. And I would just encourage you guys to play and be able to post it. You don't need new content for all different avenues. It's really just, okay, we have some content, we want to push it out. What can we do? What different posts can we try? And finally, video is king. So people love video. People love engaging with video. And I'm sure you guys have a lot of great footage. So I would definitely make sure that you focus on that when you are pushing out content. This is a Brooke slide. You're muted.
Sorry, I was muted. I'll take this slide. So I wanted to touch on just other considerations when it comes to promoting your events. Zach walked through very in-depth using the Facebook platform. I know that your clubs have been hosting events for quite some time, so there are some standard things that you're probably doing for almost every event, but I think it's very critical that you consider multiple channels when thinking about how to drive awareness of the events and the activities that are taking place. So I just want to touch on a couple of those considerations if you're not already doing them. The first is getting your event listed on local community calendars. So within your communities, there's likely a regular listing that's published that includes all of the different events and activities that are taking place. So a lot of times that's just a matter of identifying what are those outlets and submitting your events to be included. So it'd probably take on very similar details that you're including when you list the event on Facebook, but it helps spread the awareness as to what's happening and what's going on when people are looking in those specific publications for events or for local happenings in the community. The other thing that you can do is try to get a little bit of coverage surrounding the event with local media. So this is just as simple as distributing a media alert, and a media alert, you can probably just Google a standard template, or I can provide one to Henry to share with you guys. It's pretty much the who, what, when, where, and why. So you can submit the standard form to local TV stations, newspapers, radios. Maybe it's a trade publication like a local walking guide or activities, a publication that might be distributed within certain HOAs or communities, but you want to also submit the event to those places because there's a good chance that they will include it when they're publishing other news regarding things that are going on. It's a little bit different from a community calendar as it's tying into something with a broader reach. And then there's some other things that I'm sure you guys are also doing in terms of placing flyers in high traffic areas. I know that's a little different given the climate of what's going on in the country, but when things are up and running, you know, it's a really good idea to pin an event flyer maybe on a community board at a local coffee shop, or maybe there's community centers like a YMCA or a local senior center, those types of places. It's good to make sure they have flyers about your events and that it's also posted in areas that people will see it. And then there's always the option of considering additional paid promotional efforts. So you can go the route of purchasing a list. So identifying, you know, maybe it's a 5-mile radius from where the event is taking place. You might be layering in age demographics or hobbies and interests, but you would purchase a list and you can work with the vendor to send out a direct email blast where you're promoting the event, or you can also work with the partner to distribute a direct mail piece. So whether that's a postcard or a letter, just some kind of awareness that'll be delivered directly to their home or to their email inbox that serves as more of a personal one-to-one invitation. So these are just a few other ideas that I think layer in well to a digital promotion that builds that full awareness surrounding your event, what's going on, and why people should attend. That's what I had for event considerations. And then Zach, you're going to talk us through the national linking of the pages, right?
Yeah, and sorry, I wanted to be really thorough and be clear because I know it can be confusing and I was taking a very long time, so I'll try to be a little bit faster. So the benefits of utilizing Facebook location pages. So first, I kind of want to start with what they are. And I use this example on the right-hand side of Burger King. So essentially what they are is they're separate pages for each club, storefront, location, whatever it have you, and it connects prospects to your main brand page, or if you're on the main brand page, to all the locations. So in this example, this is Burger King. This is Burger King's main business page. And there's a little tab right here that says stores. And when you click on it, every single store is marked. And when you click on each of these little markers, they all go to their own pages. So this is a way to really build a hierarchy between a parent page and a child page and make sure that there's a lot of consistency through and through. So why is this a valuable opportunity? So it's a strong way to really unify the brand and build this consistent, credible brand. It's going to be able to allow for easy accessibility to all the club pages. So right now, I think America's Walking Club is very well known, and if people are searching for that and even find this main page, it's not as easy to find individual club pages. In fact, it's rather challenging. So this would be a way to really be able to communicate effectively, hey, here's the main page and here are all of the different clubs that are associated to us with an easy way to access them. And also on that front, increasing the visibility to all these local club pages. You don't have to know the individual club pages to find them now. You really need to just understand America's Walking Club and you'll have access to every single page at that point. It's much easier and it's going to offer you guys much more exposure. And then as Brooke mentioned before, it really does build that national footprint, which I think is going to be very valuable in the long run for you guys. What does this mean for you as a club owner? So I kind of alluded to it before, an increase of visibility. So now people don't need to find you by searching I know that right now there's some confusion over business pages versus some people have group pages. Really finding the right way to have all the right pages, have them all married up in the right hierarchy is going to be extremely valuable for every club owner and for the brand. There are going to be a few changes once they all sit under the parent page that I just wanted to make people aware of. There will just be a much more consistent view of the brand. So for example, all the main images are going to be the logo, the most recent logo. It's going to be a lot easier to recognize the brand that way. The services on each of the pages and the about will all be very consistent. So it's clear the branding behind America's Walking Club. The page names and the URLs will also create some kind of a naming convention. So for example, America's Walking Club, and underneath America's Walking Club, you might have America's Walking Club, Illinois. It's going to create a very clear hierarchy between the brand main page and all of the club pages that rest under the brand. The main page, America's Walking Club, will be able to generate content that is pushed through all these individual pages to create that steady stream of content and create a very consistent view of the brand. But club owners will also still be able to and are encouraged to push out content as well that's much more suited to their particular location. You can also make Facebook events like we talked about. You can boost or promote events in any way that you want to. So it's just worth mentioning that you will still have the full accessibilities that you have now. And then what role will the clubs play in this process? So the first piece of it is making sure that everyone has a business page if they don't already. And you're gonna want that no matter if we did this or we didn't do this. As I mentioned, there are a number of different types of pages on Facebook, and making sure that Facebook is utilizing a page that's going to offer you the most opportunity. So I know that there's a lot of group pages, for example. A group page is more like an online forum. Those are more like discussing topics. It's not really promoting products and services. It doesn't really have events. These are the kind of pages that you're going to want to be focused on to really be able to promote and elevate your brand. And then you'll need to obviously give access to AVA so they can create that hierarchy. And like I said, or like the visual, you're going to be able to see that in America's Walking Club, there's going to be a section dedicated to locations, and all locations will be present, accessible, and visible.
And I'll just chime in here too to kind of wrap up this slide. You know, in the discussions I've had with Henry, and one of the goals being to really position yourself as a national brand and be able to secure big national partnerships. I think having you know, affiliated Facebook pages is really going to help show that footprint and really the reach and how widespread AVA is amongst the country. Because currently, you know, if we're working with a national brand and we're talking about AVA, they can only see what AVA's page looks like and what your reach might be. We can obviously encourage and educate them on the number of clubs, but having a page that really represents, you know, all of the local pages. And even for a consumer, maybe I'm traveling and I want to see what the local club page might be. It just makes it a little bit easier to see it all tied in together under one umbrella. And it also allows you to, like I said, reinforce your position and the fact that you are a national brand. So I think that offers some of those ability. So I've been keeping an eye out on the chat. I don't want to take up too much more time. So Zach, if you want, I can just field some questions to your way. I've been reading along. I think some of these have gotten answered. They were asked maybe before Zach jumped into it. So I am going to kind of skip down to some items that might stand out. Zach, can you touch on when you're tagging the events and whether the event categories are limited and the tags and keywords? Like, are there limitations regarding that?
Are there limitations? That's a great
For
question.
example, if someone tries to type in Vogue Sporting as a keyword and nothing happens, what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to, that's a great question. I'm trying to remember if there are options that you select or that you write in your own. I'm fairly certain.
Can't write in your own.
Yeah, I was going to
You,
say.
you start to type a word and it'll take you to the next nearest word. So like the word fitness might be there. You could use that, or the word walking, but you can't create your own keywords.
Yeah, so there's going to be predetermined.
Not
topics
in my
essentially.
experience in the last 5 years.
Right. Yeah, they're predetermined topics. So you'll write it and it will gift you the ability to figure out which content categories make sense. So there is going to be a limitation to it. But I think that's also a benefit for you guys. You're not going to want to use key terms that are heavily branded. The point here is to make sure that you're using key terms that have mass appeal.
Right. I just tried that word because it's unusual, but the disadvantage is you can't use any word that they won't let you use.
Yeah.
And the words, there
Yeah.
aren't that many words that apply to our events, to be honest. Again, I've been doing this for 5 years, twice a week for 5 years.
My question is, where's the boilerplate that's available? If you all are the professionals, you would have the boilerplate available for us, knowing what it is we're doing with the appropriate keywords. So where is that boilerplate going to be located that we can all cut and paste and put in our descriptions of our events?
I can definitely provide that to Henry as a tool for you guys to use. I can work through that and get that over to Henry, and we can share that. Another thing that popped up quite a bit in the chat is getting access to this. So I know you guys are recording it and you'll host it on your platform, but we can also provide a digital copy as well that includes some of the keynotes that were voiced over during this presentation. But I'll get a boilerplate in the works and over to Henry that you guys can at least all leverage. To your point, you want it to be consistent, and that'll make it a little bit easier. I'm just scrolling through to see if anything else stands out. There are some questions regarding, it looks like, logistics around setting up the national page. And you know, Henry he can speak more to that and what the next steps are. We've provided some guidance in terms of how that process should work. It is a pretty big lift because you have to first make sure you know what every club page is that's out there, and make sure you get admin access to each of them, and then you start to grant those permissions and tie it in together. So I believe Henry's going to be tackling that, but we're here to support you know, as much as we can.
Some of our clubs, we have state associations, which have, in my case, in Virginia, we have an incredibly strong relationship to our state tourism board. So everything has to be related to our state, and our state will promote all the events in our state. What you're proposing takes away my relationship to my state. Yes, I appreciate brand nationally, but we walk locally, and our best success comes when we affiliate with our local tourism boards, because we are walking fit, we are tourism fitness, or we are, yes, that's essentially what we are. We're walking social fitness tourism. And so our tourism boards will truly do that as long as we keep the state name affiliated with what it is we're doing.
You do have the ability also, if you have very specific events, to name those events however you want. So just to clarify, when you're making an event, you can make sure that the event has a state name in it for promotion. So I do want to make that clear also, that if the goal is to be promoting some of these events with tourism, you will have the ability to do that as well.
What I'm essentially saying is that in Virginia, we are walkvirginia.org, because that is essentially the power of our name is the state name affiliated with walking. So if we give up that state relationship and that state association to a national brand that nobody in our state now knows, we've given up our identity essentially.
Just to also clarify, everyone still has their own unique presence and identity. So you don't lose your page. It would be that you have the main page, which is your parent page, and it drives to all of your individual pages. So you still have your individual pages. It's just the naming convention is going to be consistent, but the naming convention, like the example that I provided was, you know, America's Walking Club dash Illinois, America's Walking Club dash, and you can find the right naming convention that's going to make the most sense, but it's not everyone is just America's Walking Club all of a sudden. There will still be a presence that you, or a unique identifier associated to each unique club. Just to clarify.
Hey,
No,
Zach,
it's-
a
Go
couple
ahead.
of people have asked about nonprofit pages, and is that a subset of businesses?
A nonprofit page, like a nonprofit Facebook page?
Most of us that have Facebook pages, which by the way is less than 1/3 of all of our clubs who even have a page at all, have put ourselves under nonprofit, which seems to have the same features you described in your class tonight, because I've been using it for quite a while.
I'd have to look at the pages individually, but you can make a nonprofit business can have a business page, and they probably are business pages.
Okay.
I can't answer it without seeing them, but realistically, they're business pages because there's not like pages that are similar to each other. It's more like you have a lot of different types of pages. So if I'm describing a page that's pretty similar to the different functionalities that you have, chances are it is a business page. But like, just to spearhead off that, I know that a couple of people have group pages. Group pages function very differently. So group pages are more like community forums. That is not a page that would be able to be combined with this effort.
I agree. In fact, my club, we started out, when I first built the Facebook page, we started out with a group. I actually liked the group features in a lot of ways. The issue we had with it was we couldn't direct club members to the group page unless they were Facebook users themselves. Whereas with the business page, it grants more access to people who don't have their own Facebook account. They can go to it, but a group you can't. A group you can't participate in. You have to invite people into the group, and to do that, they have to have a Facebook account.
Right.
And you know, the saturation of people having Facebook accounts across all of our club members is pretty low overall. Maybe it's higher now 5 years later, but at the time, so I ran a group page for about 6 months, and then I switched to a nonprofit business page, which meant that all my members who use the internet could at least go to it.
Right. And you could still, like, a lot of times what happens is when I recognize that people are using the wrong page, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll post a message on the group page, for example, saying, we have moved, this is our actual URL, and you drive to that new page just to be able to leverage the community that you've built. You obviously want to make sure to get as many people over as possible, but yes, there is a little bit of a transition for anybody who is not using a business page, but ultimately it's going to be more, the payoff will be greater in the long run, as you obviously know, because you've switched over.
And Henry, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I think the national office has one of each, if I'm not mistaken. But most of us and many of the people who are on this Zoom tonight, who comment regularly on what we refer to as the AVA Facebook page, that is actually a group and not a business page. I don't know whether the other one that you had for the headquarters for some period of time was set up as a business page or not, but Henry may know the answer to that.
There is a hashtagable America's Walking Club page, and that is the national page.
Yeah, someone mentioned that there's a group page and a business page currently active.
I don't know whether they're both. I know the group page is active nationally because I'm on it almost every day. I
Right.
think there's a second page though, but Henry would have to answer that, or Hector. I'm not sure Hector's on the call tonight.
Yes,
Samantha answered it.
this is Samantha. We have a group page and a business page for the America's Walking Club.
I think we addressed most of the questions. I know there was quite a few comments that came up and some discussion, but I think most of the questions got addressed. I guess if there's any final questions, you guys want to add them now?
And obviously, if there are questions that come through later, we can certainly answer those as well. Don't feel like you have to have the question right now or you'll never get the answer.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, this is, I have my, I'm a small business owner. I'm a Reiki practitioner and I have a business page. And you were talking about boosting to try to reach other people for the AVA. I was told not to use that.
Oh, really? So Facebook is a paid up.
Yeah, I was told not to use that.
Oh, who told you that?
Some of my colleagues. Actually, I get business from my Facebook page for the Reiki. I betcha if I put our Connecticut group on and I put it on my personal page or my business page, I might get more answers. But you were also talking about pamphlets and flyers in different places that are local. Well, we've tried that in Connecticut. I find that people ask questions, they pick them up, like at the Y, at the local libraries, but that's not where I get the responses. And this is for my Reiki business and AVA. I'm just comparing them. I'm just putting them together because the response is similar. Most people find me on Google or on Facebook.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on like Facebook having a very powerful network. And 5 years ago, when we were talking about how, John, when there was a lot less people on Facebook, I just think that number's exponentially growing. We worked very closely with a medical group and they specialize in focusing on targeted healthcare for seniors. And the amount of digital media that we started running 5 years ago versus even last year, it's night and day, because a lot of the people 5 years ago that weren't really using the internet, they're all using the internet now. They all have Facebook pages. They're all connecting with their families.
Right, and that's what happened with this COVID, the Zoom boom, the social media.
I like that, the Zoom boom. I'm gonna use that, Eileen.
Yeah, that's really been a very big thing. And I belong to a lot of global groups, across the ocean and everything. And we are grateful for Zoom because we can connect.
Yeah.
I think AVA could use that too. Look at what we're doing now.
Yeah, it's super powerful to be able to connect. I like that, Zoom boom. I agree with you on everything. I would also just encourage you to reconsider the promotional piece of it, because I do think that Facebook has done an amazing job at building a very powerful artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
It really has. And if you're putting a couple of dollars behind things, you really can find and expand your reach. And there are a lot more, to John's point, where he says, hey, there's not a ton of different tags on the event, the Facebook events. There are certainly a lot of different interests and affiliate groups and behaviors that you can build audience for and find people that would be interested. And that's certainly going to help. So
Right.
it is certainly not a mandatory. You do not have to do it, but it is a pay-to-play platform. So you either need to find a way to spark engagement or you can pay for it. That's kind of the best way to really create a reach that will help you find more prospects.
Right, because I find that if you advertised in newspapers or in magazines, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Facebook, you said, I think it was John McKellen that told me, $20, for a boost. It's a reasonable price.
You certainly can, you set your own price. So the value of it is certainly you could spend $5, you could spend $5,000. And it's really a matter of just seeing what value comes from it, right? So you also have the ability to really hone in targeting to your location. So you could literally go to the event location, say, I only want to do a 7-mile radius around this. So I'm only finding people that are immediately going to be able to.
Right.
I can find an audience, like I can choose ages that I think would roughly be interested. I could focus on walking, jogging, 5K, travel. There's a number of different interest groups that exist, and put $20 behind it and see what that's going to look like.
And Zachary, I don't know if this
yeah.
has changed, but I told Eileen in the chat room, I've had limited success with event boosts, but
Right.
I did have some success with the boosts that were targeted at adding page likes. So for anyone who's going to start a new Facebook page for their club, that's worth trying a couple of times, where like it'll ask you want to do a boost and what's the purpose of the boost, and there's something different between going after page likes versus boosting a specific event, the way Facebook promotes it. And we were at a point a couple of years ago, where we were trying to drive the number of people who liked our page up. And that worked. That did help us to spend $20 here or there to do that versus any one event.
Right.
I think it does work, but I would also just have you guys really pay attention to your engagement metrics and see a lot of times what happens is Facebook, when it comes to likes, they have a way of really finding people who have high propensities to just like pages.
Yeah.
You really want to make sure that there are people who are interested and so therefore like you. It is a much slower process to boost an event or boost content, but I'll tell you, if it's in front of the right person enough times, you will get the trickle in of an increase of followers.
And that's a good point.
It won't be as
Yeah.
quick as the way you were describing, but it may be more impactful is the only thing I want to call out.
And for the other people who are on this call who haven't done what Zach's talking about when he talks about the metrics, when you're the page admin, you have access to a whole thing called insights, and
Yep.
you can look at everything you're doing on there and see what kind of reaction you're getting. And the other thing that's very useful on the insight page is you can look around your area for groups that are like yours and compare yourself to them. So I have myself, when I look at my insights, I see the other sports and fitness groups locally, because I've selected them to be on the leaderboard that I'm looking at, that I've put my club in. So I'm comparing how I'm doing versus who I perceive to be my competition locally.
Right.
And they let you do that, which has been very useful.
Facebook really does try to give you all of the tools. It can be a little overwhelming, which is why I tried to keep it very, high level, and I didn't want to go too crazy because I didn't want anyone to get really overly confused. I wanted to be really clear. And if it's not, and people need follow-ups and they want to talk it offline, of course, you can communicate with Henry, who can share some lingering questions and we can answer them. But yeah, there is a ton of ways you can go down the rabbit hole on Facebook to build up your brand.
Well, thank you all so much for having us join your meeting tonight. I will get the presentation to Henry along with that boilerplate. And then if there is anything else, we'll look to Henry to let us know how we can help you out.
Thank you so very much, Brooke. Henry, I'll let you finish us off with the gavel.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, Brooke and Zachary. So the next steps, going to work with mass media and train some people here in the office to then work with the clubs that would be that are ready to participate in linking. Obviously, Tim brings up some good points with the state association. So it's not all black and white, and we want to consider some of those, what's all involved with that. But in the end, the goal is to try to bring more visibility, more exposure to your club, so they can be easily found, recognized across the country, and not just in your region or your state. And so that's the ultimate goal. The power is in the numbers that we can demonstrate across the country. And so we hope that everyone will give it some consideration, and more information will come when we're ready to roll this out and start working with individual clubs in the checkpoint. Right now, the point of contact, of course, will be on our end, will be Samantha. So if you have more questions or you'd like to follow up, you can email her, samantha@ava.org. But again, this is not ready to roll out right now. We wanted to introduce it to everyone and then continue discussion with the leadership. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you to our board members who joined us. I see John, and I think I saw Carl out there. So thank you.
And your national secretary is waving from behind me
Cecilia, thank you.
as well.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And in 3, 2, 1, we